Okay, conduct the hypothesis test. So it's P1 not equals to P2. Okay, so um, determine the null and alternative. So the null has to be equals to, and the alternative is not equals to. Compute the test statistic Z naught. So let's see. Okay, StatCrunch. So stats, proportion stats, 2 samples with summary. So the data is 28 and 254. 254, and then you have 38 and 301. And it's not equals to, we should already have it right. So the test statistic is negative 0.58. And the p-value was also there, 0.5616, so 0.562. And the p-value is bigger than alpha. Alpha is 0.05. 0.562 is bigger than 0.05, so you fail to reject the null because p is greater than alpha, and when you fail to reject the null, you do not have evidence for the alternative. Okay. So find the critical values for this hypothesis test. And do the data provide sufficient evidence? First, let's find the critical values. So alpha equals 0.05. And you know the critical values are done through one of the 3 calculators. So in this case, you look at the claim that's being tested, it's proportions. So when you are doing proportions, then you do normal calculator. Remember, you're doing means, you do t calculator, and you're doing standard deviation or variance, then you do chi-square calculator. So for proportions, you use normal calculator. So let's use the StatCrunch that's already there. So stats calculator, normal. And you have greater than, so you make it greater than. And alpha, and when you have greater than or less than, then alpha is just the tail area, so 0.05. So 1.645. So it's either going to be this or this. And now when you are asked whether you have sufficient evidence or not, you have to see if p is less than alpha or not. So you have to calculate the p-value. So for p-value, you have to do the proportion stats. So stats, proportion stats, 1 sample with summary. So number of no, it's 2 samples with summary. So stats, proportion stats, 2 samples with summary. All right, so you have, let's open this up. Okay. So sample 1 would be the people with college education, and sample 2 would be no college education. And so the number satisfied is the number of successes, so that's 68. And the number of people is the number of observations, so 176. and then 60, and 167. And then in the hypothesis test, you had greater than, and compute. Okay, so let's look at the p-value. Where is the, how do I scroll to the right? What's going on? That's okay, big. All right, so p-value is 0.3021. So 0.3021, and that is bigger than alpha. So you fail to reject the null. And when you fail to reject the null, you do not have evidence. So critical value we already determined was 1.645, and it's a no. You don't have evidence because p was bigger than alpha.